So hello then, welcome back to another Night of the Movies video. I'm of course Spike Knight, and in these videos I love talking about things, movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's video, I'm talking all about Better Man, the Robbie Williams musical biopic, and why I think it is an underrated gem of a film. So let's get into it, shall we? Better Man. So as I just said, this film is a music biopic all about the popular singer Robbie Williams, who made his name in the boy band Take That in the 90s and then left the boy band and pursued a very successful solo career. And I remember when this film came out in late December of 2024 and not looking forward to it loads. I wasn't looking forward to it really at all, in all honesty, because I've never been the biggest fan of Robbie Williams. There's about 10 of his songs that I actually quite like, and those 10 of his songs I do listen to every now and then, and I get a kick out of listening to, you know what I mean? But I also think some of his songs, like Angels, are overplayed to death. I mean, I understand why Angels is overplayed, I get it, it's a catchy tune, but I don't think it's quite as good as some people make it out to be. Some people make it out as if it's like the greatest song ever, when I'm like, I mean, come on guys, Let It Be exists. But anyway, yes, I'm not a big fan of Robbie Williams, in all honesty. And when I heard that a musical biopic was being made about him, I was like, really? He's still quite young for an artist working nowadays. You know, it isn't like Elton John, who, you know, by the time his musical biopic was made, he was getting towards the end of his touring years. Or it isn't like, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, Freddie Mercury passed away by the time that film came out. Or Bob Dylan with A Complete Unknown, where that's like a segment of his life. No, it felt like it was the wrong time for Robbie Williams biopic to come out. Like, of all the musical biopics, of all the musicians we could tell the story of, we're going to tell the story of Robbie Williams? Really? And then, when I heard that the film was going to have Robbie Williams played by a CGI chimpanzee, I was even more confused, and I was not looking forward to it even more so, you know? I was like, really? That's the decision you're going to go with this movie? I mean, it could work, it's a big swing, I kind of like the idea of being a big swing, but the trailers for this film, when I saw Robbie Williams being played by a CGI chimpanzee in the trailers for this movie, I was not sold, and I was thinking, this could go south very easily. And I'm not particularly looking forward to watching it for the reasons that I just said. That's how I felt before the movie came out in the UK in late December of 2024. And by the way, that feels like it's a lot longer ago than it actually was now. Late December of 2024 was only, you know, just over a year ago now, really, and yet it feels like, wow, it feels like it was about 3 years ago for me, personally. Anyway, I wasn't looking forward to it too much, but then the film came out, and I remember people raving about it. I remember there even been some awards consideration for this film, and I was thinking, okay, now I'm ready to be proven wrong when I go and watch this movie. However, I saw it a couple of days after Christmas Day 2024, and I kind of wish that I didn't. You know, the film came out, I want to say on Boxing Day 2024, and I should have waited till after the new year, because usually in that week, you know, that glorious week between Christmas and New Year, I hibernate, you know what I mean? I just stay inside and don't do anything. And yet, in 2024, when this movie came out, I went to the cinema to go and watch this film, and to be honest, I shouldn't have, because I wasn't in the best mindset. And I remember going to cinema to watch this movie and quite enjoying my cinema going experience, actually, but also feeling overwhelmed by the film I was watching. It wasn't the right film to watch in my frame of mind at the time. So, walking out the cinema, I did enjoy the film. I think I'd say, I had a really good time watching it, but I also said to myself that I need to go back one day and rewatch this movie. When it comes out on a streaming service, you have to check it out again, because there are people raving about this film as if it's like the best musical biopic made. And personally, for me, that was still Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. That's still the best musical biopic I've seen. But people talk about Better Man as if it was like, I don't know, the greatest film of 2024. They're talking about it as one of the best films of 2024, and I just didn't get that from it. So I said to myself, at some point over the next year, you're going to go back and rewatch that movie when it comes out on streaming or when it comes out on DVD. And a couple of weeks ago now, I saw that it was available on Prime Video, and I just finished watching the Take That docuseries, which I actually liked a lot more than I thought I was going to. I mean, I loved that docuseries, and I'm not a huge fan of Take That, but I thought that docuseries was great. And after watching that docuseries, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and rewatch the Robbie Williams musical biopic, in which he played by a CGI chimpanzee, and see if it works for me any better than it did the first time around, and see if I finally got all the hype and all the love that film was getting. I mean, I say it got a lot of love, and it did, but also it did badly at the box office. The film did not do well at the box office at all, and yeah, it did get a lot of praise critically and from the people that saw it, but again, I wouldn't say it got the love that perhaps it deserved, because honestly, on a rewatch, I think this film is quite simply, yeah, I'm going to say it, I think it's extraordinary, and that's coming from somebody who's not a Robbie Williams fan in the slightest. That being said, I actually appreciate him more after watching this movie. I appreciate how he can show himself in this light, because a lot of artists who would have a musical biopic come out during, well, yeah, whilst they're still alive, would probably try and make it into a fluff piece, but Robbie Williams did not. He does not present himself in a particularly flattering light, and I actually quite like that about him. So even though I just said there I'm not a Robbie Williams fan in the slightest, actually, you know what, coming out of this movie, I did become more of can't even speak apparently, I did become more of a Robbie Williams fan, and also I came away from the movie the second time around quite taken by it in ways that I just didn't expect. I mean, this film, when I say it's extraordinary, what I mean is it's extraordinary in how it makes things that shouldn't work. And the biggest example of that when you come to this movie is our lead character being played by a CGI chimpanzee. I mean, that shouldn't work. That shouldn't work in the slightest. But it works brilliantly when you come to this film, and it's a big swing. I admire this film so much for taking a big swing. I always love when films take a big swing and the big swings pay off, and in the case of this movie, the big swing does pay off when you get to the finale of this film. But also, what I love about the big swing is that it's so different, and it's something you didn't expect from a musical biopic. You know, ever since 2018, when Bohemian Rhapsody came out and made something like $700 million at the global box office, Hollywood has now had this sort of obsession with making musical biopics, and some of them have been really good. I really enjoyed Rocket Man, which came out in the year after. You know, I enjoyed Rocket Man quite a bit actually, and I also quite enjoyed the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, and I loved Baz Luhrmann's Elvis biopic. There have been some which I liked quite a lot, but there's also been some which have left a lot to be desired. For instance, One Love, the Bob Marley biopic, and the Amy Winehouse biopic, and there's another one that I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now, but the fact that I'm forgetting it isn't a good thing, is it? So yeah, there's been quite a few musical biopics which have been which have left stuff to be desired, and what I really think you need to do with a musical biopic nowadays, after we've had so many come out since 2018, is do something completely different. Is take a big swing with the movie. And that's exactly what this film does. It has, like I've already said, Robbie Williams played by a CGI chimpanzee. And that, again, could have gone south so easily. But actually, it works fantastically, because it adds so much more layers of meaning to this film. And you know the great thing is about him being played by a chimpanzee as well? You just get past it like that. Even so some of the CGI at times look a little bit ropey, you get past it just like that. You don't actually feel like you're watching a CGI chimpanzee, and it actually adds so much more to the film as well, because Robbie Williams in the past has spoken about how on stage he felt like he's a performing monkey, and you get that whilst you watch the film. It really plays into that. But also for me, what the whole CGI monkey aspect plays into the film, what it adds, what I'm not trying to say here, what it means to me, what I take from it, what I take from him being played by CGI monkey, is this is how he views himself. You know, early on the film, we hear Robbie Williams say, literally to us as the viewers, he's narrating the movie. We hear him say, you know, I don't view myself the same way other people do. You know, I feel like I'm less evolved. It's something around those lines. Again, I'm probably getting the dialogue incorrect there, but it's something around those lines. And when you watch him in the film, and he's on stage and he's performing, and he looks out into the crowd and he sees a version of himself as a CGI chimpanzee monkey. You know, when he's performing the film and he looks out into the crowd and he sees a version of himself as a CGI monkey, and he gets knocked down slightly on stage by seeing himself as a version of himself as this CGI monkey. What it's saying to me is this is how his inner demons are trying to bring him down. And not to go into spoilers, but by the end of the film, I think what it's trying to say is he comes to love himself, and I really like that message. And I also really like how it just shows that even these people, even these artists who we think have everything, even these people who are just so confident on stage and we think they're confident all the time, actually have a lot of inner demons which they're struggling with, even in the best of times. Like, I'm not going to give anything away again for people who haven't seen the film, because I don't think a lot of people have, but there's an amazing Nebworth sequence when I think his inner demons and how he felt during his famous gig at Nebworth really come into play in, again, an amazing sequence in this movie. And I think the whole thing with him being played by a CGI chimpanzee really shows how he views himself, as less evolved than other people around him, and how his inner demons have tried to take over him for so long, but by the end of the movie he comes to love himself. And I think you've seen the film, hopefully you'll get what I mean there. Hopefully I'm explaining myself well, but I also think that's a relatable message that, you know, a lot of people can relate to. I can relate to. I've struggled with my inner demons for pretty much as long as I can remember, and I think most people have. And if you haven't, well, either you're not being honest with yourself, or you are the luckiest person alive, you know. And I really like the way it's done in this film, because it could have been done in a way that was overbearing and in your face. But actually, I think the way it's done in this film is really effective, and also doesn't take away from your enjoyment of this movie. Because the great thing about this film is also it's enormously enjoyable to watch. Like, I remember when Rocketman came out in 2019, and it was described as, that was the Elton John musical biopic, and it was described as like a musical fantasy biopic. It was something on those lines. And the thing is, I completely understand that when it comes to Rocketman. Rocketman has some fantastically directed musical sequences, for sure. Particularly the Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting sequence in that movie. But, in my opinion, Rocketman walked so better man could sprint. There are far more fantastically and exciting musical sequences in this movie, particularly the Rock DJ musical sequence, when you see the rise to fame of Take That in one, 4 to 5 minute musical sequence that is enthralling to watch. Enthralling with a capital A. Every single time I see that Rock DJ sequence, I am flabbergasted by it. And that's no exaggeration. I'm flabbergasted by the way that whole musical sequence is done in the film, you know. And I actually find myself watching that musical sequence without watching the film. I find myself watching it outside of the movie quite a bit, you know, just because of how amazed I am about the way the camera moves in that sequence. I mean, it's all made to look like it's done in one long take. I don't think it was. I could be incorrect there, but I don't think it was filmed in one take. However, it's edited to look like it was filmed in one take, and the way it's edited, the way it's shot, the way it's staged, the choreography in that sequence, and the storytelling in that sequence alone, I mean, needs to be studied. That whole sequence needs to be studied for people who want to make musicals in the future, to show how you can do one 3 to 5 minute musical sequence that can tell so much story without actually literally telling us so much story. It's a whole thing I go back to time and time again. Show, don't tell. And when it's done effectively, it can be so effective, like it is in the Rock DJ sequence in Better Man. I still don't know how they filmed that. I heard that they actually filmed it on Regent Street in London, which is where that whole sequence is set. And that makes it even more impressive in my opinion, because I don't know how you film in London at any time of the year. That must be a nightmare to do, but it pays off fantastically when it comes to this film. And that's not the only musical sequence that is great to watch in the movie. The sequence that follows Robbie Williams and his first meeting with Nicole Appleton, I think that's her name, and when you get the song She's the One playing, a song which I don't really like, but actually I think is used very well in this film. And there's this the sequence when you see him performing Let Me Entertain You, which is actually one of my favourite songs of Robbie Williams, when you see him performing Let Me Entertain You at Nebworth, and the way that whole sequence is done. I mean, there's so many great musical sequences in this film that I can't quite get over how they made work. There were so many parts of this film which shouldn't work, and actually the film itself shouldn't work either. But it does, and it does tremendously well. And I think one of the reasons it really works, if not the biggest reason it works, is because of the director, Michael Gracey. Now, Michael Gracey, before directing this movie, he directed a little musical you might have heard of called The Greatest Showman. And I'll be honest, this might be an unpopular opinion, I'm not a fan of The Greatest Showman. I don't actually think it's that well made, and I think it's overly mushy and all that jazz. But people are fans of that movie, and the thing is, I think what he did really well with this film is I think he just threw himself into the production of this movie, and he's more confident as a director when it comes to this film. He's more confident as a filmmaker when it comes to Better Man than he was with The Greatest Showman. And I think you really feel that when you're watching this film. There's an energy to it which never lets go, but also there's an emotional connection that there's an emotional way that it grabs you early on in the film, and again, that never lets go either. It emotionally grabs you early on, and it doesn't let go. And I actually think, funnily enough, it's more emotionally engaging than the Amy Winehouse biopic Back to Black was, which is saying a lot, because Back to Black, if you know Amy Winehouse's story, is not quite a heartbreaking story, it's a very heartbreaking story. Amy Winehouse's story is very heartbreaking, but I don't think it was done justice in the Amy Winehouse biopic. However, Robbie Williams' story is not nearly as heartbreaking in real life as Amy Winehouse's story, for obvious reasons. But the way it's done in this film is far more emotionally effective than the way Amy Winehouse's story was done in Back to Black, if you follow my thinking. I think Robbie Williams' story in this film is a lot more emotionally effective to watch than many other musical biopics, actually. I'd actually say Robbie Williams' story in this film is more emotionally engaging to watch, narratively and in the story and everything like that, in the storytelling, than Freddie Mercury's story in Bohemian Rhapsody. I loved Bohemian Rhapsody the first time I saw it in the cinema in 2018. I still remember coming out of the cinema feeling like my world had just been turned upside down. But I watched it again. I rewatched it about a year ago now, and I was surprisingly disappointed by it. And actually, I'm now taking a disliking to Bohemian Rhapsody. It certainly has its merits. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I've taken a disliking to Bohemian Rhapsody now. I don't love it the same way. I don't even really like it that much anymore. And Rocket Man, I think, is still a solid movie, but again, not nearly as good as I think as it could have been. And I think what Better Man has made me realise is that when musical biopics take a big swing, and then when they actually go there and show the artists at their worst, it can prove to be so much more of an engaging watch through the storytelling and through the way everything's done, And I think Bohemian Rhapsody lacks that sort of energy and excitement and that sort of engagement that it needed to have to fully make that biopic work in all the areas, whilst Better Man goes to all the dark places that you kind of don't expect it to, but it does, and it does all these things that, and Robbie Williams let this film do all these things that other artists wouldn't have let it do, and in doing so, it makes for what is actually quite a dark movie, but it's also enormously enjoyable to watch. This film is a wild ride, and it's unconventional in ways you don't expect, and even in its narrative structure, this isn't a usual musical biopic. It goes in directions that you don't quite expect, and I'm not saying all of it works. I do think some of it is aimed at people who are more aware of Robbie Williams' music, like there are nods to his famous music videos, to Rock DJ and to Let Me Entertain You, which if you're not a Robbie Williams fan, you might not understand. And there are parts of the film which are a little mushy and perhaps didn't need to be, and there are also parts of the film which are a little on the nose, like you see Robbie Williams' grandmother in the film say, "I wouldn't change a hair on your head," and again it's a bit on the nose because again he's played by a CGI chimpanzee, but I get past all that because of the experience watching this film, because of how it makes me feel, and because of how, again, wonderful of a movie it is. It's just so entertaining. And that's another thing. I don't think it should have been called Better Man. I understand why it is called Better Man, I get that, but I think it should have been called Let Me Entertain You, because I think that actually would have fit in with the narrative of the film more. However, that doesn't change from my enjoyment from this movie, and I do think it deserves so much more love. It's a great movie, which is amazingly directed, and it takes huge swings, particularly by having a lead character played by a CGI chimpanzee. But it works. It shouldn't work, but it works, and it works wonderfully, and it adds to a really great payoff by the end of the film. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying all of it works, and it's not my favourite musical biopic. My favourite musical biopic is still the Elvis biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann. But this is a good follow-up. This is a worthy follow-up in my opinion. I love Better Man. I love it now, and I'm so glad that I gave it another go. You know, it is a lot, this film. It's very out there, and I can see it might be a bit too much for some people. But again, I think it's extraordinary. And that's come from someone who's not a big Robbie Williams fan, but who appreciated him a lot more, particularly after watching this biopic for the second time. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Better Man, you know what, I'm feeling generous now, not really sure why, but I'm going to say that I would give Better Man a 10 out of 10 after rewatching it. Again, I can't recommend this enough. It's not without its flaws, but the energy in the movie, the way it keeps you on your toes, the way it just constantly surprises you. I mean, there are not many movies that could be this outlandish and could take this many big swings and would manage to work. It's a film which really shouldn't work. Sometimes people say that about movies, and you watch a film and it's like, no, I can see why this is working, you know? But this is one of those cases where, if you wrote this down on paper, I'm not quite sure. I would question, if you wrote this down on paper, I'd be like, really? You think this is going to work? You think any of this could actually work on screen? But not only does it work on screen, it works extraordinarily on screen. And again, that's coming from someone who's not been a big Robbie Williams fan. Some of his music I love. I love Rock DJ. I think that's a great song. But some of his music I think, okay, you know, tone it down a bit, mate. But when it comes to this movie, I just think, wow, what a great film about an artist who had so much struggle in his life, but actually has come out on top. And you really feel like that. You really feel that's the case by the end of this movie. And when I say come out on top, I don't mean in necessarily the way you may think. I think it's come out on top personally, in a way that I think the movie represents really well. I think the movie does justice to Robbie Williams' story, and that it's again coming from someone who's not a big Robbie Williams fan. I can't express that enough. But I got to the end of this movie, and you know what? I was smiling from ear to ear. In fact, I was smiling from ear to ear throughout most of this film. It's so great. I can't recommend it enough. Check it out on Prime Video, if it's still on there by the time this video has come out, or by the time you're watching this video. Check it out on Prime Video, because it is an underrated gem of a film that deserves so much more love than it got. You know? Deserves so much more love. Oh yeah. it is a wonderful film. And so, all in all, as what he said, as I'm going to say once more in today's video, I would give Better Man a 10 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. If you have seen Better Man, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching this video today. And if you haven't yet and you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe on this video. And look forward to many more videos. How many times I'm going to say video, the word video in this outro today? But yes, look forward to many more videos coming very, very soon on this channel. As what he said, thank you so much for watching today. And I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.